History is filled with empires, mighty kings rise, armies march, cities fall, but eventually, every empire crumbles. Babylon is gone, Persia is gone, yet the story of one man, Daniel, remains. Why? Because his story is more than politics, more than kings and armies. It is a story of faith in the face of fire, courage in the jaws of lions, and truth before the thrones of men. Tonight, you will walk through that story. You will see Babylon in its splendor. You will hear the cries of captives, the clash of pride and humility, and the whispers of prayer that echoed louder than the roar of lions. This is not just Daniel's story. It is a story for you, for today, for anyone who has ever stood alone and wondered if God still sees. The night sky over Jerusalem glowed red with fire. Smoke rose like dark fingers into the heavens, blotting out the stars. The once bustling streets were silent save for the clash of swords, the shouts of soldiers, and the cries of women clutching their children. The great city, the pride of Judah, the place where Solomon's temple once stood in golden glory, was collapsing. Babylon had come. Daniel stood among the chaos, pressed against the stone wall of a ruined house. He was just a boy, not yet grown into manhood, but the weight of tragedy had already pressed lines of grief into his face. Around him, people wailed as soldiers dragged captives from their homes. The temple of God had been desecrated, holy vessels stolen, priests slaughtered. A Babylonian commander barked an order: gather the youths, the best of them, strong, handsome, intelligent, bring them to the king. Rough hands seized Daniel's arm. He staggered forward, the chains of captivity binding his wrists. Behind him, he caught a final glimpse of his mother weeping, her figure small against the backdrop of flames. The boy's heart pounded, but he whispered under his breath, "O Lord, God of our fathers, do not forsake us." Beside him were his friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, also bound, their eyes wide with fear but shining with determination. Together they were forced into the caravan of captives, walking away from Jerusalem, their steps heavy with loss. The road to Babylon. The journey stretched for weeks across deserts and rivers, through lands foreign and hostile. Each step carried Daniel farther from the land of his fathers, from the hills of Judah, from the temple where God's name dwelt. But even as the horizon swallowed Jerusalem, Daniel's faith did not die. At night, when the soldiers rested, the four friends huddled together. Hananiah clenched his fists. "They have destroyed our city. Do you not feel anger, Daniel? Do you not wish to rise against them?" Daniel looked up at the stars, faint beyond the smoke of their campfires. "Anger burns hot, Hananiah, but fire without purpose consumes itself. If we live, we must live with wisdom. If we perish, let us perish with faith." Mishael added softly, "Do you think the Lord has abandoned us?" "No," Daniel replied. "Our fathers turned from him, and this is the price. But he has not abandoned us. Even here he will be with us." Azariah's voice trembled. "Then what awaits us in Babylon?" Daniel did not answer, his eyes fixed on the horizon, where in the distance, faint but looming, the towers of Babylon touched the sky. The splendor of Babylon. When at last they entered Babylon, their breath caught in awe and fear. The Ishtar Gate rose before them, a colossal structure of blue-glazed bricks, adorned with golden lions and bulls that gleamed in the sun. The Euphrates River cut through the city, its waters reflecting the grandeur of palaces and temples. Daniel had never seen such splendor. Markets overflowed with spices, silk, and jewels. Statues of strange gods loomed on every corner. Soldiers marched with precision, their armor flashing in the light. And at the heart of it all was the palace of Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful king on earth. The captives were led into the palace courtyard. where an official named Ashpenaz, the chief of the eunuchs, awaited them. His eyes scanned the young men, sharp and calculating. "These," he declared, pointing to Daniel and his friends, "are worthy of training. They will serve in the king's court." The boys were stripped of their Hebrew names. Daniel was called Belteshazzar. Hananiah became Shadrach. Mishael became Meshach. Azariah became Abednego. It was Babylon's attempt to erase their identity, to mold them into servants of the empire. But though their names were changed, their hearts belonged still to the God of Israel. The king's table. Training began immediately. The youths were taught the language of Babylon, the writings of its sages, the customs of its people. They were to be molded into scholars and officials, advisors to the throne. But the greatest test came not in the classroom, but at the dining table. Each day, the king's servants brought food from Nebuchadnezzar's own kitchen. Roasted meats, rich wines, delicacies steeped in the worship of Babylonian gods. The aroma filled the hall, tempting and rich, but Daniel's face grew troubled. He leaned toward his friends. "These foods are unclean. They are offered to idols. If we eat, we bow to Babylon in our hearts." Shadrach whispered nervously, "But what choice do we have?" Refusal means death. Daniel's eyes burned with conviction. Better death with faith than life without it. That evening, Daniel approached the steward in charge. "Please," he said respectfully, "test your servants for 10 days. Give us only vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare us with the others who eat the king's food. Judge for yourself." The steward frowned. "If you grow weak, the king will have my head." "Test us," Daniel insisted, "and see." Reluctantly, the steward agreed. For 10 days, Daniel and his friends ate only vegetables and drank only water. While the others feasted, they kept their resolve. And when the days were complete, their faces shone brighter. Their strength surpassed the rest, their minds clearer. The steward shook his head in amazement. From then on, Daniel and his friends were spared the king's food. It was their first victory in Babylon, not by sword, but by faith. God's favor. As the years passed, the 4 friends excelled in wisdom and knowledge. They learned the language of Babylon, studied its history, debated its philosophers, but never abandoned their God. And when at last they were presented before Nebuchadnezzar, the king found them 10 times wiser than all the magicians and astrologers in his realm. Daniel's eyes, once filled with grief, now shone with quiet confidence. He was no longer just a captive. He was a servant of the Most High, placed in Babylon for a purpose greater than he could yet see. The story of Daniel had only begun. The king's sleepless night. Babylon never truly slept. Even at midnight, the city hummed with life. The murmur of traders counting coins, the faint clatter of soldiers on patrol, the low chants of priests in their temples. But in the palace, the most powerful man on earth was wide awake, drenched in sweat. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had dreamed a dream so vivid it stole his breath. His body trembled, his heart raced. He sat upright on his bed, the silken sheets tangled around him, his crown discarded on the marble floor. The dream would not let him go. A colossal statue, terrifying in size and brilliance, stood before him. Its head gleamed like gold, its chest and arms shone like silver, its belly and thighs like bronze, its legs like iron, and its feet a strange, fragile mix of iron and clay. Then suddenly, a stone, uncut by human hands, struck the statue, shattering it. The wind carried the fragments away, leaving nothing behind, and the stone grew into a mountain that filled the earth. Nebuchadnezzar clutched his chest, gasping. He could conquer nations, silence enemies, and command armies, but this dream had shaken him to his core. At dawn, he summoned his wise men, magicians, astrologers, sorcerers, men who claimed to read the stars and speak to the gods. They bowed low before him, their robes trailing on the polished floor. The king's voice thundered, "I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit is troubled to know it. Tell me my dream and its interpretation." The chief astrologer blinked, confused. "O king, live forever. Tell us the dream, and we will give you the interpretation." But Nebuchadnezzar slammed his fist on the throne. "No, if you are truly wise, tell me the dream itself and then its meaning. If you cannot, I will tear you limb from limb and destroy your houses." Panic spread through the chamber. The wise men fell to their knees. No man on earth can do what the king asks. The king's eyes burned with fury. "Then you are frauds. Guards, execute them all." The word spread quickly. Death hung in the air like smoke, and that was when Daniel heard the news. Arioch, captain of the king's guard, arrived at Daniel's door with a drawn sword. His face was grim. "Daniel, the king has ordered all the wise men killed. You and your friends are included." Daniel's heart pounded, but his voice was calm. "Why is the decree so urgent?" Arioch explained the king's impossible demand. Daniel lifted his eyes toward heaven, then turned to Arioch. "Take me before the king. Give me time, and I will show him the interpretation." The captain's brows furrowed in disbelief, but something in Daniel's eyes convinced him. That evening, Daniel gathered Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. His voice trembled, but his faith was strong. "Brothers, our lives are in the balance. Tonight we pray, not just for ourselves, but that the God of heaven may be glorified." The four knelt together, their whispers rising into the silence of night. They poured out their hearts, pleading, confessing, asking. Hours passed, their voices cracked, tears fell. Still they prayed. And sometime before dawn, as Daniel slept, the dream came. He saw it, the gleaming statue, the stone, the shattering, and he understood. Daniel fell to his knees. "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, to whom belong wisdom and might. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. O God, you have made known to us the king's matter." Daniel before the king. At sunrise, Arioch rushed Daniel into the throne room. The king leaned forward, eyes bloodshot, face tense. "Can you tell me my dream and its meaning?" Nebuchadnezzar demanded. Daniel bowed low, his voice was steady. "No wise man, enchanter, or magician can reveal the secret the king demands. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries, and he has shown you, O king, what will be in the latter days." The hall fell silent. Daniel continued. "You saw, O king, a great statue, its head of gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, and its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. Then a stone cut without hands struck the statue and crushed it. The stone became a mountain and filled the whole earth." Nebuchadnezzar's eyes widened. Sweat trickled down his brow. Every detail matched. Daniel lifted his hand. "You, O king, are the head of gold. After you will arise another kingdom inferior to yours, then a third of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. Then a fourth, strong as iron, but divided. And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. This is the meaning of the stone, the kingdom of God, which shall stand forever." The throne room shook with gasps. Nebuchadnezzar himself fell to his knees before Daniel. "Truly, your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings." He showered Daniel with gifts, placed him over all the province of Babylon, and set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as rulers under him. But not everyone rejoiced. In the shadows, jealous eyes watched. The golden image. Power only made Nebuchadnezzar's pride grow. In defiance of the dream that showed his kingdom would one day fall, he built a golden image 90 feet high. Its surface gleamed in the sun, a monument to his ego. A decree was issued. When the music plays, all nations must bow before the image. Whoever does not fall and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. The day arrived. Horns blared, drums thundered. A sea of people dropped to their knees, foreheads pressed to the ground. But three figures remained standing: Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Their enemies smirked and ran to the king. "O king, live forever. Did you not command that all must bow? But these Jews, whom you have set over Babylon, have defied you. They neither serve your gods nor worship your image." Nebuchadnezzar's face turned red with fury. "Bring them to me." The furnace of fire. The three friends stood before the king. Their faces were calm, but their eyes resolute. "Is it true," the king roared, "that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image? I will give you one more chance. Bow now, or you will be thrown into the furnace, and what God can deliver you from my hand?" Shadrach stepped forward. His voice was steady. "O king, we have no need to defend ourselves. Our God is able to deliver us from the furnace. But even if he does not, we will not serve your gods or worship your image." The words struck like thunder. The king's fury exploded. "Heat the furnace 7 times hotter," he commanded. Soldiers seized the men and bound them. The flames leapt skyward, scorching even the guards as they threw the captives in. The crowd gasped, shielding their faces from the heat. And then silence fell. Nebuchadnezzar's eyes widened. He stood, trembling, pointing at the flames. "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire? But I see 4 walking freely, and the 4th looks like a son of God." The crowd murmured in awe. The flames swirled, but the men did not burn. The king rushed to the furnace door, his voice shaking. "Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out." The 3 men stepped forth, their robes unscorched, their hair untouched. Not even the smell of smoke clung to them. The king fell silent, overwhelmed. "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. There is no other God who can deliver in this way." And he decreed that anyone who spoke against their God would be destroyed. Daniel's influence grew, but so did the danger. Babylon was a city of power, but beneath its splendor lay jealousy, pride, and enemies plotting in secret. The stage was being set for trials even greater than fire. The king's boast. The sun set over Babylon, painting the Euphrates with streaks of gold and crimson. On the palace rooftop, Nebuchadnezzar stood tall, his robe trailing, his crown glinting in the last light of day. Before him stretched the city, his city. The hanging gardens cascaded with flowers from every corner of the empire. Wide avenues pulsed with merchants, soldiers, and slaves. Statues of gods towered above rooftops, and the walls of Babylon, thick enough for chariots to ride upon, seemed to promise eternity. The king spread his arms wide and laughed, his voice echoing against the stones. "Is not this great Babylon that I have built by my mighty power, and for the glory of my majesty?" But even as the words lingered in the air, a sound broke the evening stillness, a voice deep and thunderous, not of man. "O King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken. The kingdom has departed from you. You shall be driven from among men. You shall dwell with the beasts of the field. You shall eat grass like oxen until you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whom he will." The king staggered, clutching his chest. his mind fractured like glass struck with a hammer. His eyes rolled wild, his crown fell to the floor with a hollow clang. That night, whispers spread through the palace. The king had gone mad. Nebuchadnezzar fled the halls of marble and gold, stumbling into the gardens, tearing his robe. Servants watched in horror as their ruler crawled on all fours, his hands grasping at tufts of grass. Seasons passed. His hair grew long, tangled, matted with dew, hanging like eagle's feathers. His nails thickened, curling like claws. He slept beneath the open sky, rain soaking his skin, frost biting his bones, the sun scorching his back. Children whispered, soldiers avoided him. Priests muttered in confusion. The most powerful king on earth had become a beast, stripped of reason, a wandering shadow of his former self. But through it all, Daniel prayed. For 7 long years he prayed that the king would see what pride had blinded him to, that kingdoms rise and fall by God's decree alone. The restoration. One morning, as the dew clung to the grass, Nebuchadnezzar lifted his head. His eyes, wild and broken for years, suddenly cleared. He gazed at the heavens, tears streaking his dirt-stained face. And for the first time in years, he spoke, not in madness, but in worship. I, Nebuchadnezzar, bless the Most High and praise and honor him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are as nothing before him. He does according to his will in the host of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. None can stay his hand or say to him, "What have you done?" At that very moment his reason returned. Servants gasped as the king stood upright, his posture regal once more. His hair was trimmed, his nails cut, his robe restored. He was led back into the palace, and his throne was returned to him. But Nebuchadnezzar was not the same man. The pride that once filled his chest was replaced by humility. He declared to all his empire, "Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are right and his ways just. Those who walk in pride he is able to humble." For a time, Babylon thrived under this humbled king. But as all empires do, it soon fell into the hands of another, one who did not learn from the past. The Feast of Belshazzar. Years later, Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, Belshazzar, ruled in his place. But unlike his forefather, Belshazzar's heart was hardened, arrogant, blind. One night, he held a feast for 1,000 nobles. The palace banquet hall blazed with torches. Tables overflowed with food and wine. Music filled the air, laughter echoing through marble pillars. As the wine flowed, Belshazzar grew bold. He called out to his servants, "Bring the vessels. Yes, the golden cups taken from the temple of the Jews in Jerusalem. Tonight we drink from them." The crowd cheered as the sacred vessels, once used in the worship of the living God, were filled with Babylonian wine. Men and women raised the cups high, praising the gods of gold and silver, bronze and iron, wood and stone. But in the midst of their revelry, silence fell. A hand appeared, just a hand, fingers glowing like fire, tracing letters across the plastered wall of the palace. The goblets clattered to the floor, women screamed, nobles froze. Belshazzar's face turned pale, his knees knocked together. The words burned into the wall, "Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parsin." The handwriting explained. No one could read the writing. Magicians, astrologers, wise men, they all stared, baffled, terrified. Then the Queen Mother entered, her voice calm. "O king, do not let your face grow pale. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. In the days of Nebuchadnezzar, he was found to have light and understanding and wisdom. Call for Daniel, and he will give the interpretation." Daniel was summoned. Now an old man, his hair streaked with silver, his eyes still sharp. He stood before the trembling king. Belshazzar promised him riches, robes of purple and a chain of gold if he could read the writing. But Daniel's voice cut through the silence. "Keep your gifts for yourself. Give your rewards to another. But I will read the writing to you, O king, and make known its interpretation." The hall leaned forward as Daniel spoke. "You have lifted yourself against the Lord of heaven. You have praised gods of silver and gold, but the God in whose hand is your breath you have not honored. Therefore he has sent this hand, and the writing is inscribed, Mene. God has numbered the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Peres, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians." The words fell heavy as stone. The king's face drained of blood. And that very night, as revelry turned to dread, the armies of Persia slipped beneath the city walls, diverting the Euphrates and marching into Babylon. Belshazzar was slain. The kingdom was taken. Babylon had fallen. The fall of the Golden Empire. The once proud city awoke to chaos. Soldiers in Persian armor filled the streets. Fires raged where resistance had flared. The golden statue of Nebuchadnezzar lay toppled. Babylon, jewel of the world, had been seized in a single night. Daniel, the old prophet, watched from his chamber window as dawn broke over a conquered city. The words of the dream so many years ago echoed in his heart. "You are the head of gold. After you shall arise another kingdom." The head of gold had fallen. The chest of silver had risen. The God of heaven had spoken, and his word had come to pass. A new empire, an old servant, Babylon, had fallen. The golden head was gone. The chest of silver had risen. Darius the Mede now sat on the throne, his banners flying above the conquered city. Soldiers in strange armor patrolled the streets, their accents different, their gods foreign. But amidst the shifting tides of empire, one man's influence remained unchanged. Daniel, though now an old man, his hair streaked with gray, his back slightly bent, his reputation was unshakable. Kings had come and gone, empires had risen and fallen, but Daniel had endured. His wisdom, his integrity, his faithfulness had outlived Babylon itself. Darius quickly recognized his value. He appointed Daniel as one of 3 high officials to oversee the governors of the realm. And among the 3, Daniel stood out. His wisdom surpassed them all. His honesty was unquestionable. His spirit carried a weight that others could not explain. Whispers spread among the officials, "Daniel is too powerful. He is too righteous, too favored. If he continues, none of us will have influence." And so jealousy festered, growing like rot in the shadows of the palace. The plot against Daniel. Night after night, the jealous governors gathered in secret chambers, their faces lit by flickering lamplight. "How do we trap him?" one hissed. "He takes no bribes. He commits no crime. His record is spotless." Another leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "There is only one weakness in him. His faith. He prays to his God always." The others nodded slowly. Yes, that was it. His faith would be the snare. Together they devised a plan, cunning, subtle, deadly. The next morning they approached King Darius, their robes flowing, their voices sweet as honey. "O King, live forever. We, your governors and officials, have consulted together. We believe it good that you establish a law, that for 30 days no one may pray to any god or man except you, O King, and whoever disobeys shall be thrown into the den of lions." Darius stroked his beard, pleased by the flattery. A law that made him the center of devotion? His pride swelled. Without hesitation, he signed it. The decree was sealed with the law of the Medes and Persians. unchangeable. In the shadows, the conspirators smiled. Their trap was set. Windows toward Jerusalem. Daniel knew. The moment the decree was published, he heard its words echo in the streets. But his resolve did not waver. That evening, as he had done every day for decades, he ascended the stairs to his chamber. The windows were open toward Jerusalem, the city of his fathers, still in ruins. He fell to his knees, lifted his hands, and prayed. Blessed are you, O Lord our God. Though kingdoms rise and fall, you remain. Hear the prayer of your servant. Below, in the alleys, spies crouched, watching. They smirked as Daniel's voice carried through the open window. At dawn, they rushed to the king. O king, did you not sign a decree that no one should pray to any god or man except you for 30 days? Yes, Darius replied, his voice firm. It is established. Then know this, Daniel, who pays you no regard, prays 3 times a day to his God. Darius froze. His face fell. His heart sank like stone. For he loved Daniel, trusted him above all others. Realization swept over him. The law had been a trap. All day the king struggled, seeking a loophole, a way to deliver Daniel. But the law of the Medes and Persians could not be revoked. As sunset approached, the conspirators pressed him. O king, the law is the law. It cannot be changed. And so, with grief heavy in his voice, Darius gave the order. Into the den, the lions roared, their growls echoing against the stone walls of the pit. The smell of raw flesh hung in the air. Soldiers led Daniel forward, his hands bound. The old prophet's face was calm. His eyes shone with peace. He did not resist. Darius stepped forward, his voice breaking. Daniel, servant of the living God, your God, whom you serve continually, may he deliver you. Daniel nodded slightly, his lips moving in prayer. The soldiers lowered him into the den. The stone was rolled across the entrance, sealed with the king's signet. The sound of the lock echoed like thunder in the king's chest. That night, Darius could not eat. Music brought him no comfort. He tossed upon his bed, haunted by the image of lions tearing flesh. He whispered into the silence, O God of Daniel, if you are real, deliver him. The angel in the shadows. In the darkness of the den, the lions prowled. Their golden eyes glowed. Their breath steamed in the cool night air. They circled, muscles tense, tails lashing. Daniel knelt, his face lifted toward heaven. His prayer rose above the growls. And then light, not the light of torches, but a glow pure and steady. An angel stood before him, radiant and calm. His hand stretched outward, and instantly the lions fell still. Their growls silenced, their jaws closed. They lay down, purring softly like tame beasts at rest. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. My God has sent his angel. The mouths of the lions are shut. All night the prophet sat in peace, the beasts lying like lambs around him, their great bodies warm against the chill of stone. At dawn, as the first rays of sun pierced the sky, Darius rushed to the den. His robe trailed in the dust, his crown tilted upon his head, his face pale with fear. He called out with trembling voice, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, delivered you from the lions? For a moment, silence. Then a voice rang out, strong, calm, unwavering. O King, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths. I am unharmed, for I was found innocent before him, and also before you, O King. I have done no wrong. Darius gasped, tears welling in his eyes. Bring him up! Quickly, the stone was rolled back, ropes lowered, and Daniel emerged, untouched. No wound, no scar, not a hair singed. The crowd erupted in awe. The king embraced the old prophet, relief flooding his heart. The fall of the conspirators. But the story did not end there. The king's voice thundered, "Bring those men who accused Daniel." The conspirators were seized, their smug faces now pale with terror. They were cast into the same den, along with their wives and children. The lions, who had slept peacefully at Daniel's side, sprang into action. Their roars shook the ground. In moments, bones cracked, screams echoed, and silence fell once more. Justice had come, a decree to all nations. That very day, Darius issued a decree to all peoples, nations, and languages in his realm. "I make a decree that in all my royal dominion, people are to tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, enduring forever. His kingdom shall never be destroyed, and his dominion shall be to the end. He delivers and rescues. He works signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. He who has saved Daniel from the power of the lions." And Daniel prospered under the reign of Darius and into the reign of Cyrus the Persian. The city was quiet, but Daniel could not sleep. He tossed upon his bed, sweat beading his brow. For though lions and kings no longer threatened him, something far greater pressed upon his spirit: visions from God. One night, as he lay staring at the ceiling, his mind was swept into a storm. He found himself standing beside a vast, restless sea. The wind howled, waves crashed, and from the depths of the waters shapes began to rise. The first, a lion with eagle's wings, proud and fierce. The second, a great bear, lumbering, ribs clutched in its teeth. The third, a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads, moving with terrifying swiftness. And the fourth, oh, the fourth, a beast unlike any he had ever seen. Iron teeth, bronze claws, devouring, crushing, trampling. Its horns twisted upward, and from among them rose another horn, small, cunning, boasting with arrogant words. Daniel trembled, his knees shook. "What is this, O Lord?" And then the scene shifted. Thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His robe was white as snow, his hair like pure wool. His throne flames of fire, streams of fire issued before him. Thousands upon thousands served him. Books were opened. The beasts trembled before him. And then one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven, approached the Ancient of Days. To him was given dominion, glory, and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His kingdom would never pass away. Daniel gasped awake, clutching his chest. His room was dark, but his spirit burned with holy fire. The angel's explanation. Troubled, Daniel fell upon his face in prayer, and as he prayed, a hand touched him. He looked up. An angel stood before him, radiant and strong. "Daniel, these visions are true. The 4 beasts are 4 kingdoms, which shall rise upon the earth. But in the end, the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess it forever and ever." Daniel trembled. "My lord, the 4th beast, it was dreadful." "What does it mean?" The angel's eyes were solemn. "The 4th kingdom shall devour the earth. 10 kings shall arise, and another shall rise after them, speaking great words against the Most High, wearing out the saints, attempting to change times and laws. But his dominion shall be taken away, and the kingdom and dominion shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. Their kingdom shall be everlasting." Daniel bowed low, his body weak, but his spirit aflame. The ram and the goat. Another night, another vision. Daniel saw a ram with 2 great horns pushing westward, northward, and southward. None could stand against him. But suddenly from the west came a goat, swift as the wind, with a single great horn between its eyes. The goat struck the ram, shattering its horns. The ram was powerless, cast to the ground. But then the goat's horn was broken, and in its place rose 4 horns, reaching toward the 4 winds. From one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly great, reaching to the heavens, trampling the sanctuary, stopping the daily sacrifices. Daniel fell to the ground, trembling. "What does this mean?" And then the angel Gabriel appeared, his voice clear as a trumpet. "The ram you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia. The goat is the king of Greece. The great horn is its first king. And out of his kingdom shall arise 4 others. In the latter time, a fierce king will arise, deceitful, destructive, opposing the Prince of Princes. But he shall be broken, not by human hand." Daniel lay sick for days, the weight of history pressing upon him. Years passed. Daniel opened the scrolls of Jeremiah and read the prophecy. 70 years of desolation for Jerusalem. His heart broke. He fell upon his knees, fasting in sackcloth and ashes, praying, "O Lord, great and awesome God, keeping covenant and steadfast love with those who love you and keep your commandments, we have sinned. We have rebelled. To us belongs shame of face, but to you belongs mercy and forgiveness. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, act. For your own sake, delay not, for your city and your people are called by your name." As he prayed, the angel Gabriel appeared again, his presence like lightning. "O Daniel, I have come to give you insight and understanding. 70 weeks are decreed concerning your people and your holy city, to finish transgression, to put an end to sin, to atone for iniquity, and to bring everlasting righteousness." Daniel bowed, tears streaming down his face. God's plan was vast, stretching beyond his days, into ages yet to come. In another vision, Daniel stood beside the Tigris River. Suddenly, a figure appeared, clothed in linen, his face like lightning, his eyes like flames, his arms and legs like burnished bronze, his voice like the sound of many waters. Daniel fell on his face, trembling, but the figure touched him, lifting him to his knees. "Fear not, Daniel. From the first day you set your heart to understand. Your words have been heard. But the prince of Persia withstood me 21 days, until Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. Now I have come to make you understand what is to befall your people in the latter days." The angel spoke of wars yet to come, of kings of the north and south, of alliances and betrayals, of battles that would shake nations. Daniel's strength left him. He whispered, "My Lord, how can I speak? My strength is gone." The angel touched him again. "Peace be with you. Be strong, yes, be strong. For the words are true, though they concern days yet distant." In his last vision, Daniel saw a time of great distress, such as never had been since nations first existed. But in that time, Michael the great prince would arise, and the people of God would be delivered. Many who sleep in the dust of the earth would awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise would shine like the brightness of the sky above. Those who lead many to righteousness would shine like the stars forever and ever. The angel's voice grew softer. "But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Go your way until the end. You shall rest and shall stand in your allotted place at the end of days." Daniel's eyes filled with tears, his heart heavy and yet filled with hope. He had lived through empires, he had faced fire and lions, he had seen visions of kingdoms and of eternity. And now his story would rest, not ended, but waiting. For the God who rules history would bring all things to their conclusion. Daniel's life stretched across decades of exile through Babylon, Media, and Persia. He was a boy when Jerusalem fell. He was an old man when visions of the end filled his nights. He had served kings, but never bowed to them. He had faced death, but never feared it. He had seen empires crumble, but never lost faith in the eternal kingdom. And so his story echoes across the centuries. Faith that stands when the world bows, prayer that defies decrees, hope that outlives empires. The lions have roared, the fires have burned, the kings have fallen, but the God of Daniel remains forever. If Daniel's faith inspired you today, don't let this story stop with you. Share this video with a friend who needs courage right now. You never know. Your share could be the rope God uses to pull someone out of their den. This is more than a story. This is a movement of faith. Subscribe now because more stories are coming. Stories of fire, of giants, of miracles, of faith that refuses to die. Share this video and join a community where faith roars louder than fear.